Welcome to the Parthum Fresh New Look. And here we have Abner in a special sports segment.
Hello, my name is Abdullah, and I'm going to be talking about what I love to do, and that is racing. This is going to be a story. As I walk into the F1 Boston facility, the first thing that hits me is the strong smell of gasoline while the staff's ready the carts. The only thing you can hear is the roaring engines and the sick sound of your own voice. It is my mother, my cousin, and I that went that day, and before I can tell them anything, the manager rallies all of us up, the drivers, and to get a driver's meeting. We talk about groups to go first, and then we hit the track. As I begin to put my fire suit on, my cousin begins to tell me that today is a day for me to dominate, even though it was my first time on the race at the city course. The city course is 1,320 feet all the way around. It has a hill, a tunnel, and a hairpin turn, one of the hardest turns in racing. As I finish putting my helmet on, my cousin gives me a good look. My first heat race was good. I started 5th and finished 4th. I thought it was pretty good finish for my first time on the track, but my cousin told me that I was pathetic and I needed to do better. So I decided to shut him up. On heat number 2, I started 3rd. We start to do our caution lap. A caution lap is a slow lap before the race starts. Or if someone spins out, they throw a yellow flag and everyone slows down. All I thought about was, I need to win. I repeated it about 20 times in my head. The green flag go came out, and I just slammed the gas, hitting up to 45 miles per hour in the narrowest track we have. The kid in front of me was good. He had a tight racing line, a mental line in your head that gets you the pretty much fastest lap you can possibly do. So I messed around with him, and eventually I faked an outside pass and shot in the inside when he attempted to block. I pulled away from him and I caught up to the kid that was in first. We fought for at least 12 of the 15 laps in the race. But on lap 14, he over-pursued and slid on the bottom, and I seized my opportunity. I won that race. I was so excited because it was my first win as a league racer. And my cousin told me, he admitted it was pretty well, but he told me it was all luck and had nothing to do with it. So I got angry. The next heat, I started 6th. That didn't help, but I was determined to make my cousin dumbfounded. I got in my car, and the race started. When the green flag went out, the kid that was in 4th place slid a little, and I shot the inside. On the restart, I jumped from 6th position to 4th position. I admit, I was a little more aggressive than I should be, but you have to do what you have to do when you're behind the steering wheel. I was battling with 3rd place for about 2 laps, but then I got him on the outside on the hairpin turn. I remember before the race noticing that if I got at least a 2nd place finish, I would have top honors and have the most points in that round. So I charged behind 2nd place, and my good friend Ben Amato was behind the wheel. We battled it out for felt like eternities. He was really good. I looked at the screen and I saw that there were only 2 laps left. So I thought, I need to pass him now. At the bottom of the track, right when the white flag came out, 1 lap to go, Ben slid and fell a little low. I charged on next to him and we were side by side, sharing the position. We flew into the double easy turns and we both dived into the hairpin. At the end of the race, it said Abner Laura in 2nd place and Ben Amato in 3rd place. I took top honors, and ever since that day, my cousin never talked bad about how I did when I raced. This was my first round as an F1 Boston Junior League racer, and it was one of the coolest things ever. Just being there and doing that. Racing to me is everything. My passion for racing is unsurpassed by anything else, and just talking about it gets me happy. The feeling I get is unexplainable. It's like I was Henry Ford in my past life. I would give up pretty much everything to race, and I wouldn't mind getting all the fortune as long as I can race. I just want to race. I don't care if it's NASCAR or IndyCar or GT racing. If Rick Hendrick asked me asked me to race for him when I turned 18 for $19,000 a year, I would take it. I would take that job in a tenth of a heartbeat. Racing is my pride and joy, and without it, I don't know what I am. Thank you guys for listening to my story.
Today, we have a special interview with Professor Hugh Herr.
Hello, my name is Hugh Herr. I direct the biomechatronics group here at the MIT Media Lab. And what we do here is we build robots that attach to the body to help people move again, to expand physicality. So there's 2 applications. One is building devices that help people to move again that have some limb pathology. amputation or from stroke. And another application is to augment normal, healthy physiologies. So if you walk around this way, we can see some various devices. So here you see what's called the biome, and I'm wearing two of them. It's now being used in the world. There's hundreds of people using them in the world. We fit many U.S. soldiers that have lost limbs in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's computer controlled. There's 3 computers inside and about 10 sensors. And what we do, in fact, is we model how the body moves using mathematics. And then the control system uses that model to inform how the device moves. So even though it's made of titanium and carbon and silicon, it moves as if it's made of flesh and bone. So what it does is it adapts naturally with changing walking speeds, up and down hills and steps, behaves like a normal ankle. So for the first time in history, we've made the energetic cost of walking normal, and we've allowed people to walk at normal speeds, and we've improved stability a great deal. Going up the leg, you can see this is for someone that's amputated above the knee, transfemorally, and we have a bionic knee. Again, here we modeled how the human knee works, and we've emulated that with the synthetic construct. And we're also interested in robots that attach around biological limbs. So this is you can think of it as kind of a very fancy computer-controlled knee brace. We call it an exoskeleton. So the goal here is that you can run and use less energy and dramatically reduce the stress through your knee. So one application is you have a bad knee, but you still want to participate in sports, and you can put on this exoskeleton and run and do what you want to do. And over here, we see one of our first versions of a prosthesis designed for running. So any of you heard of Oscar Pistorius?
Yes.
Yeah, so Oscar, for those of you who are not aware of his story, he was born in South Africa without fibula bones. And when he was around 10 months old, as a little baby, his legs were amputated in hopes of a better life using prostheses, because you can't really walk without fibula bones. So Oscar uses a spring like this black part, which is made of carbon composite. And what he doesn't have is this motor electronic system. So we're trying to augment what he typically uses with a motorized version to make it even better. So the idea here is you're flying through the air running. This motor would cock the spring, and then when your foot hits the ground, all that energy would burst out like a catapult. We also have another laboratory that we call a wet lab, where we're thinking about how to attach the nervous system to these external devices, how we can put implants into muscles and to nerve, and measure the movement intent of the human, send that out wirelessly to devices like this, and then also reflect sensory information from the bionic limb back on the nervous system, closing the loop between the human and machine. And once this is fully advanced, a decade or so from now, people will not only be able to walk across sand with limb amputations, such as myself, but they may even be able to feel the sand against their synthetic prosthesis.
Hello, my name is Genesis Toledo. Can you compare the first prosthetic legs that you had at the age of 17 with what you have created now?
The first pair of legs that I received was decades ago, and they were made of just foam and wood and rubber. They did not have any motors or actuation or sensors or computers. They were just dumb, non-adaptive devices, only appropriate for just standing or walking very, very slowly. So today we have fancy turbocharged, computer-controlled bionic limbs.
Why do you enjoy rock climbing, and what does it mean to you?
Rock climbing is Hemingway stated that there's only a few real sports. And he listed mountain climbing as one, and race car driving and bullfighting. Sports that you really have to put everything on the line. So climbing does require that extraordinary commitment, but it's also very physical. One has to be in Olympic athletic shape. So it's this extraordinary emergence of physical power and psychological power, and that's what I enjoy so much.
My name is Abdullah. Did you ever think you would be where you are now as a young man?
No. I started mountain climbing when I was 7, much younger than all of you, and by the age of 10, 11, I dedicated my life to mountain climbing. My goal was to be the best mountain climber in the world. And part of that, at least in my case, meant doing everything possible to get out of school. And then, because I could spend more time training and mountain climbing if I wasn't in school. So then my accident occurred when I was 17, my mountain climbing accident. And I became interested in mathematics and engineering and design because the limbs that were given to me were so pathetic. They hurt, they were passive and unadaptive. So I graduated from high school and I couldn't take 10% of 100 because no one ever told me what a percent was, or I wasn't listening. And then so I decided to go to college, and I got these how-to manuals of basic math, and I was like, God, that's what a percent is? That's amazing. That's so easy. So I managed to get into college, which was a miracle. And then I just developed this incredible passion for math, computer science, physics, engineering. And that led to more and more sophisticated prosthetic designs, and here I am today.
I'm Zachary Coleman. Who are some of your heroes or inspirations?
My parents were a great inspiration. I'm the baby. I'm the youngest of five kids. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. My parents always said that we should do what we're passionate about, what we absolutely believe is worthwhile and enjoyable in life, and we should do it well. We should do it with beauty. And they said, even if you dig ditches, do it with absolute beauty. And I think that was a great inspiration.
What inspired you to become a biophysicist?
Oh boy. Well, again, I set out in mathematics and science and engineering with kind of the back of my head to design better prosthetic limbs. And obviously to do that, it's about, one can take the approach of emulating nature, emulating the biological body. So I guess that was my initial reason for entering biophysics. But once I was there, once I got a taste of it, nature's beautiful. Our bodies are beautiful. They're extraordinary. And it's just a dream to learn how we work.
When did you first think about creating bionic legs and such?
Immediately following my surgeries for my limb amputations, I had this kind of vision of a future in which the world was without disability. And at that time, I often would state that there's no disabled people, there's only disabled technology, there's only poor design. And as a young man, I envisioned a future where technology is so advanced, so sophisticated, that the blind could see, the deaf could hear, persons with limb amputations can manipulate and run and skip, a world without disability. And I still have that vision. I think the world by the twilight years in this century, the world will largely be without disability. And in that effort to eliminate disability, we will set the technological foundation for an enhanced human experience that will affect all people.
Can you explain how one's brain can control a bionic limb?
So broadly speaking, the nervous systems, the brain, the spinal cord, the nerves going out to the muscles. There's groups throughout the world developing ways to communicate to those various points in the nervous system. So for someone like myself that has bionic legs, where I'm completely normal from my brain through spinal cord, throughout my nerves, the appropriate thing to do is to have communication modules into my muscles that remain and my nerves. Some people, it's appropriate to go actually into the central nervous system, to have an implant that goes into the brain. They may be paralyzed from the neck down, as an example. So there's groups throughout the world that are developing these interfaces with the nervous system at those different levels: muscles, nerves, spinal cord, or brain. And they each have their vast array of application. So at MIT here in my group, we're focused on a peripheral interface with the nervous system, so getting implants into muscle and into nerve, and then control systems that use that information to control external bionic limbs.
I imagine that you've had so many great accomplishments, but what do you think is your greatest accomplishment?
Oh God, I've never been asked that. Every once in a while, we spend years and years and years and years developing these devices. Every device you saw there took several years to develop and millions of dollars. And every once in a while, we put it on a human being and they start crying and they say, I have my body back, I have my life back, I'm no longer depressed. And those are proud moments.
Your story is remarkable. Is there any advice you can give someone that has a handicap like you had?
And my advice is to, initially after the accident or whatever resulted in the disability, whether it be disease, traumatic injury, initially there's shock and there's this long period of adaptation. During that initial period, you just have to take one day at a time. You have to put one foot in front of the other and move forward, even though you're completely overwhelmed and you may not see a bright future whatsoever. You just have to put the foot forward and move. Beyond that, I would say don't give up, don't accept current technology. The technology is flawed. The person with a disability is not flawed. There's nothing wrong with an unusual mind or body. We're all unusual in some way. Don't accept that as a disability. Think of the environment, our built technological environment, as the disability. And that's empowering because that can be changed. That can be fixed. That can be redesigned to eliminate disability.
Someday, when you leave this earth, what legacy would you like to have left behind?
In this century, we will see this extraordinary human story, this narrative of ever advancing technology and ever decreasing levels of human limitation, to the point where at the twilight years of this century, I don't think there'll be human disability. And I hope my legacy is contributing a small part to that extraordinary human narrative.
Professor Herr, on behalf of the Parthum Middle School, I would like to thank you heartfelt for allowing our students to come here
My pleasure.
today and to meet you and for you to share your work with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed today's show.
See you next time on the Fresh New Look.